July was the planet's hottest month on record, according to the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service. Here are the facts. The average global temperature last month was 16.95 degrees Celsius. That is well above the previous record set in July of 2019, and it's around 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than the pre-industrial era, a threshold scientists warn the planet should stay under. Well, these findings come after a series of deadly heat waves and record-breaking temperatures in July, as well as unprecedented ocean heat around the world. Well, let's have a look at this. Let's bring in meteorologist Derek Van Dam. Derek, there are still deniers out there who refuse to believe that human actions are fueling climate change, and there are many out there who say that reports like this catastrophize things and just create a sense of doom. So let's just have a look at this report and what it says to people who are denying that climate change increases these sort of extreme weather events, as it were, and the warming of the earth, and whether this latest report might better convince people.
Well, will it change their minds? Well, time will tell, Becky, but what we're doing here is we're actually adding science-backed evidence and continuing to add to this list of reports that show that the Earth is in some of its warmest periods it's ever registered, and that humans are the direct cause of that warming. This particular report that we're discussing now is about this 1.5 degree temperature threshold that we don't want to break, certainly on a regular basis, but it did in the month of July. Now, it's done this in other months before. Previously, they've been during the course of the winter and spring months in the northern hemisphere. But the fact that we've registered this in July, which is the summer months, the heart of summer in the northern hemisphere, means that we will experience unprecedented extremes by tipping over this 1.5 degree threshold. That's what we're concerned about. And of course, this has direct impacts on people directly, and what we know is that July 2023 was the warmest July, warmest month on record. It was evident across the globe, from North America to Africa to the Middle East, as well as Asia. But what scientists are so concerned, and what they discussed within this report, is that not that we've just now covered this 1.5 degree pre-industrial era average, it's that if we start to see this on a regular basis, the monthly averages continuing to pile up as they've done several months before this, is that we break that threshold on a yearly average. So the Earth's planetary temperature increases by 1.5 degrees pre-industrial averages. And what that means is, what concerns scientists is that they consider that a tipping point where extreme weather becomes more dramatic and more frequent. So we want to try and prevent that by reducing our burning of fossil fuels.
Yeah, this is fascinating and really well explained. Give us some real world examples then of how climate change is impacting us here and now, as it were.
Yeah, you know, Becky, I had some back and forth discussions with my producers, and the first thing that came to mind was what's happening in Canada. The amount of acreage or hectares that have been burned this year with wildfires and forest fires has never been experienced before. And that is just incredible. Look at this. They've already burned 13 million hectares. On average, this 10-year running average is about 2.1 million hectares to date. So that really puts it into context. Other examples would be breaking the all-time record high temperature in China last month. And then you got to think about the compounding effects of what we call the El Nino weather pattern. This is a cyclical event that takes place across the planet every 3 or 4 years. It repeats itself, but it is a warming event. So we add this global greenhouse heat trapping gases into the atmosphere. We have El Nino on top of it. No wonder, Becky, we have had and broken the global average temperature since July 3rd, every consecutive day to today.
Thank you. This is really important stuff. We're not being sort of catastrophic about this. We're not catastrophizing about this. We're not being sort of doom mongers. These are the facts. We'll continue to report on climate crisis and the increased impact that climate is having on these extreme weather patterns. Wherever you're watching in the world, I'm sure you've got your own personal example of this. Well, South Korea reports at least 27 people have died from heat-related illnesses as the country faces a major heat wave. It's also bracing for the impact of a typhoon expected in the coming days. Here's a great example. These two extreme weather events have taken a toll on what is an international scouting jamboree. There were calls to cancel the event as living out of tents became unbearable. Well, now a massive operation is underway to relocate some 40,000 people ahead of this typhoon. Ivan Watson has the details.
A mass evacuation of tens of thousands of scouts. The South Korean government packing teenagers from more than 150 countries around the world on more than 1,000 buses to flee an approaching typhoon. An escape from the sprawling site of the 25th World Scout Jamboree.
It's been pretty bad, like really bad. I don't really know what else to say.
Speaking to CNN from one of the evacuation buses, these 18-year-old scouts from Sweden say they were disappointed by conditions of the camp.
Why couldn't they just plan this better? And we've been a bit angry because they knew that they didn't have the resources and they still decided to keep going with the camp.
What was supposed to be a 12-day event has been troubled from the beginning.
We were particularly concerned about sanitation and the cleanliness of toilets that were causing severe concerns from us from a health and safety point of view.
The leader of the British contingent pulled some 4,500 UK scouts and volunteers out this weekend, relocating them to hotels in the Korean capital.
It's punishingly hot here in Korea. It's an unprecedented heat wave. But we were concerned about the heat relief measures that were being put in place.
Meanwhile, scouts from the U.S. also pulled out, relocating to Camp Humphreys, a large U.S. military base. The August heat wave particularly punishing given the location of the Jamboree, a reclaimed tidal flat apparently devoid of natural shade.
It's so hot. A lot of people are passing out, and we've been forced to drink about 1 liter of water per hour.
In the first week, hundreds of teenagers got sick from the heat, prompting the Korean government to rush air-conditioned buses to help, along with fire and medical services and extra water. With a potentially dangerous typhoon approaching, Korean organizers finally pulled the plug on Monday, telling scouts to strike camp.
I feel very, very sorry for the Korean nation and the Korean people because I think that they would have loved to present their country, their culture, their community in a more positive way.
Despite the setbacks, some teenagers apparently applying the Cub Scout motto, do your best.
We're just happy to be in the shade, in the AC, getting to cool down. And I mean, the Scout motto is to meet every problem with a smile, and that's what I feel like everyone is doing.
Ivan Watson, CNN, Hong Kong.
Well, former US President Donald Trump fielding a flurry of legal developments now, including a potential hearing this week and signs that a new indictment could now be imminent. We'll get